due process, and even any presumption of innocence. Now, we're going to review the worst of the worst from the past several days. Now, as of tonight, we have only 29 days to go until the all-important midterm elections. And the left and their disgusting use of identity politics is on full display. We'll cover it all tonight. We see it every 2 and 4 years. You know what they say about Republicans. We now know what they do in confirmations. They always go after anybody, and we have so much more. We're going to actually play it and remind you. They vilify political differences. They hope we, the people, will blindly buy into their lies. We're going to explain why this all matters, because in 29 days, the choice is going to be clear. Do you want mob rule or law and order? Do you want guilt by accusation or the presumption of innocence? Do you like identity politics that divides us? Or do you want a booming economy that works for every American, especially the forgotten men and women in this country? Will you get to the polls in 29 days? Will you want to shock the world again in 29 days? Or will you get the government of Pelosi, Schumer, Maxine Waters that you deserve? Also tonight, stay tuned. There is huge breaking news this week about the deep state. Let me put it this way. The dam is breaking. TikTok. There's going to be a massive breaking news week. First, it's time as we begin tonight's important Monday breaking news opening monologue. All right, in 2016, remember then candidate Trump, he promised to reshape the U.S. Supreme Court. He wanted to put on people that were originalists, constitutionalists, those people as judges, not people that legislate from the bench. Well, tonight, President Trump has resoundingly fulfilled yet another campaign promise. Judge Brett Kavanaugh has now officially been sworn in as the newest member of the U.S. Supreme Court, a lifetime appointment, making him now the second judge successfully sent to this bench by the president. And tonight, during his swearing-in ceremony, the president, he congratulated Judge Kavanaugh. He also apologized for the horrific nomination process that we all witnessed for almost 3 straight weeks. Take a look.
On behalf of our nation, I want to apologize to Brett and the entire Kavanaugh family for the terrible pain and suffering you have been forced to endure. Those who step forward to serve our country deserve a fair and dignified evaluation, not a campaign of political and personal destruction based on lies and deception. What happened to the Kavanaugh family violates every notion of fairness, decency, and due process. Our country, a man or a woman, must always be presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty.
Presumption of innocence. It is core to who we are. Judge Brett Kavanaugh had this to say about his historic nomination. Let's take a look at that.
Article 3 of the Constitution provides that the judicial power shall be vested in one Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is an institution of law. It is not a partisan or political institution. The justices do not sit on opposite sides of an aisle. We do not caucus in separate rooms. The Supreme Court is a team of 9, and I will always be a team player on the team of 9. I was not appointed to serve one party or one interest, but to serve one nation. America's Constitution and laws protect every person of every belief and every background. Every litigant in the Supreme Court can be assured that I will listen to their arguments with respect and an open mind.
Now, in the face of one of the most despicable, disgusting political hit jobs ever in our history, well, Judge Brett Kavanaugh just made history. Now, from the very beginning, the day that Justice Kennedy announced his retirement, right here on this program, I warned you all of this would happen. Now, tonight we begin, thanks to all of you. This is now the beginning of my 23rd consecutive year right here on the Fox News channel. And over the course of that period, we have chronicled all of this for you. It is the Democratic playbook. We get this all the time. Robert Bork, Clarence Thomas, and now they did it to Justice Kavanaugh and his 2 young girls and his wife and his family. What this is about power. The left will stop at nothing when it comes to blocking a nomination or winning an election. elected Democrats openly even accusing Kavanaugh of gang rape and drugging teenage girls on a regular, almost weekend basis, calling him evil, comparing him to Bill Cosby, and so much more. And with zero corroborating evidence, zero corroborating witnesses, and it was based on, nearly 4 decades old claims, and most of them had holes and inconsistencies all over the place. Now, this kind of guilt by accusation was parroted by the so-called news media in this country, including the late-night so-called comedian and comedy shows with the far-left holier-than-thou hosts like Stephen Colbert. Over the weekend, we had a writer for Colbert's late-night show actually tweeting this: "Whatever happens, I'm just glad we ruined Brett Kavanaugh's life." Just for a second, stand back. Think how ugly and despicable, disgusting that is. Well, she later apologized, and she's being sarcastic. Nothing funny. That tweet sums up pretty much what we have witnessed now for far too many elections, far too many confirmations in this country. And unfortunately, it's all they're offering you, the American people, in 29 days. The politics of personal destruction, their motivations, it's clear, it's obvious, it's transparent. They want to regain power, and they do it, try to make conservatives as evil as you possibly can. And as you can imagine, well, they're taking the Kavanaugh, they're not taking the Kavanaugh confirmation tonight very well. Gee, this is a shocker. Take a look.
This is the institutionalization of tribalism on the court.
Women who are shrieking out in agony, saying, "You cannot impose this on us. You can't send us back to the 50s. But Mitch McConnell says, "Yes, I can."
This is a president who says he's for law and order, but not when it comes to sexual assault. That's quite clear.
I think this is, in many ways, a crushing defeat for women and women's rights.
Trump has delivered for these people on the things that they care about most. He has delivered racism for these people. He has delivered misogyny for these people. And now he's delivered the Supreme Court for these people. We're going to see if this reign that they now have control over all 3 branches of government, we're going to see if this reign lasts for 30 days or 2 years or a 1,000-year Reich.
Now, after Senator Susan Collins issued a historic address and bravely cast what was the deciding vote sending Judge Kavanaugh to the bench, well, recently, Senator Collins, her staff, get this, receiving rape threats, death threats, other derogatory calls. An op-ed in the New York Times entitled, "White Women, Come Get Your People," slamming Collins and any woman that thought different than they did and supported Kavanaugh, calling them, quote, "gender traitors." Over at NBC News, an op-ed led with the headline, quote, "Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation is the ultimate affirmation of the patriarchy, and Republican women let it happen." Next there is known anti-Semite, anti-Sharia law or Sharia law advocate Linda Sarsour. Really? She's helping organize the Women's March and actually introduced Senator Kirsten Gillibrand in New York at an anti-Kavanaugh protest, a woman that tweeted out, quote, that Senator Collins is, quote, "a disgrace, and her legacy will be that she was a traitor to women and marginalized communities. History will not treat her kindly. Cancel Kavanaugh, hashtag." As you can see, devoid of any new ideas to help improve our country, make us more secure, more prosperous. Look at what Democrats do. They divide Americans. This is what identity politics is. Every 2 years, every 4 years, you watch elections. What do liberals do? What does the Democratic Party do? They call Republicans and conservatives racist, sexist, misogynistic, xenophobic, homophobic, Islamophobic. They want dirty air and water. Republicans want to take your grandma in a wheelchair and throw them over a cliff, and they want to kill children. It's nothing new. This is their playbook. Don't take my word for it. We have been chronicling a history of slander, character assassination, character bludgeoning by the left for now, as we begin our 23rd year, for decades on this program. Take a look.
Many Republicans talk in coded racial language about takers and losers. They demonize President Obama and encourage the ugliest impulses of the paranoid fringe.
If you accept the support of Klan sympathizers before you are president, you will accept their support after you're president.
He's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
It's wrong what the leader of the Republican Party and this Congress are doing in blocking an accurate census because they don't want to count everyone that they don't think they can count on.
They are in favor of affirmative action if you can dunk the basketball or sink a three-point shot. But they're not in favor of it if you merely have the potential to be a leader in your community and bring people together. Don't tell me we've got a colorblind society.
June 7, 1998, in Texas, my father was killed. He was beaten, chained, and then dragged 3 miles to his death, all because he was black. So when Governor George W. Bush refused to support hate crimes legislation, it was like my father was killed all over again.
When you don't vote, you let another church explode. When you don't vote, you allow another cross to burn.
And then you got their plan, which is let's have dirtier air, dirtier water, less people with health insurance.
See, we don't just make this stuff up. This is what they say every 2 and 4 years. Tonight, well, the stakes could not be any higher because in 29 days, if we, the American people, reward this party for these despicable, disgusting tactics, we all know what's going to happen. Now, I have warned you over and over again. They don't have a plan, the Democratic Party, to make your life better, about the forgotten men and women of this country. Clearly, they are destroy Trump every minute, every second, every hour of every day. They want impeachment, open borders, get rid of ICE. They want to keep Obamacare. How's that working? And remember the tax cuts that have now created 4 million jobs, got 4 million Americans off of food stamps? They want their crumbs back. But again, don't take Hannity's word for it. Listen for yourself. They are telling you what they want to do in 29 days if we are stupid enough to give them back power. Take a look.
Sooner the better. They say, Maxine, please don't say impeachment anymore. And when they say that, I say impeachment, 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 impeachment.
In terms of the bonus that corporate America received versus the crumbs that they are giving to workers to kind of put the schmooze on is so pathetic.
They should, once and for all, work with us to improve the Affordable Care Act and renounce repeal once and for all as well.
We've got to critically re-examine ICE and its role and the way that it is being administered and the work it is doing, and we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
We should protect families that need our help, and that is not what ICE is doing today, and that's why I believe you should get rid of it, start over, reimagine it.
29 days to go until the most important midterms in our country's history. The fate of the country is resting in your hands. We ultimately have the power. So let's set the stage. First, it's so important to remember the party that controls the presidency has gained seats in the House of Representatives only 3 times in the last 100 years. Last time was in 2002 after 9/11. The stakes have never been this high. So will you, the American people, reward these despicable, disgusting political tactics from a party that has no plan to make your life better? Or will you ask yourself, this simple question: is America better off than we were 2 years ago? Is the country better off? Is America stronger? Is America safer? Is the economy doing better? Is the president keeping promises that he made to you, the American people? Look at your screen. Now, the answer to those questions, you'll never see this on any other show. Well, look at the answers right there. Overwhelming success. The unemployment rate in this country dropped to its lowest level in nearly 50 years. 1969, the Mets won the World Series. It's now at 3.7%. Hispanic unemployment in America, all-time low. We're seeing historic unemployment lows for African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, women in the workforce, youth unemployment. We have record low unemployment now in 14 states out of our 50 states. Manufacturing manufacturing confidence at an all-time high. By the way, 400,000 new manufacturing jobs brought back to America, jobs Obama said were never coming back. Consumer confidence, all-time high. 4 million fewer people tonight on food stamps than 2 years ago. 8 million people out of poverty. That's happened in 2 years. $3+ trillion spent on securing our borders and building the wall. That's underway. The president kept his promise on NAFTA. He pulled us out of the catastrophic Iranian deal. And don't forget about the historic progress that's going on now. We haven't seen a missile from Little Rocket Man since December of last year. It was like a missile a day being fired by Little Rocket Man. President now making progress. We might be able to have denuclearization of the entire peninsula, in the Korean Peninsula. We have new pipelines that have been opened up. That's American jobs. That's American energy sector now booming in this country. ANWR is now open. Coal miners' jobs have been saved in West Virginia. 2 originalists on the U.S. Supreme Court confirmed. We now have promises made, promises kept. 2 years. President Trump has kept his promise. And again, his agenda is reshaping the country for the better. But tonight, that agenda, 29 days from now, is in jeopardy. Our booming economy in jeopardy. Look closely. If you live in one of those House districts that you see in yellow on your screen, look closely, because those districts are the ones that will decide whether or not Nancy Pelosi will become the next Speaker of the House. Because Pelosi, well, she's already measuring the drapes and planning on what? Endless investigation after investigation, even into the newly appointed Supreme Court Justice, Justice Kavanaugh, sore loser. On top of all the other investigations the House is planning to go after President Trump. 2 years nonstop. They're on a quest. They've been telegraphing it. They want to impeach this president. And all they want is a majority from you to fulfill their seedy dreams. And meanwhile, if you live in one of these states, you're going to decide the future of the United States Senate. By the way, look how close the vote was this weekend. You live in North Dakota, Senator Heidi Heitkamp, well, she gave in to the Democratic mob. She voted against Judge Kavanaugh. And so, too, did Joe Donnelly in Indiana. And so, too, did Bill Nelson in Florida. And so, too, did all of these Democrats, with the exception of one, Joe Manchin of West Virginia. There are no more moderates left in the Democratic Party. There's no diversity of opinion anymore. The Democratic Party has evolved into a party of the radical far left, and they're not thinking about how to help the American people with jobs and security. It's a party that has proven in the last 3 weeks that they have a disdain even for our U.S. Constitution, which should be nonpartisan, which we all love, and basic principles which should unite us, not divide us. Due process, the presumption of innocence. They've now become the party of smears, lies, slander, besmirchment, and bludgeoning. The party of identity politics. Now in 29 days, every American in every corner of this great country, you've got to rise up and send a message. Democrats, their brand of ruthless politics, you cannot reward people for what they do every 2 and 4 years, what they've done the last 3 weeks. If you don't get to the polls and vote, core principles that we all hold dearly are at stake. This is the most important midterm election in our lifetime. All right, joining us now, the author of the brand new book. By the way, I've got my copy right here, signed and autographed. It is on Amazon.com, bookstores everywhere, Hannity.com. It's an amazing book. I just finished it this weekend. Why We Fight, Defeating America's Enemies with No Apologies. Fox News national security strategist Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce. Tammy, let's start with you. You have been a leading voice. For those that don't know your background, you were once a leader of the National Organization for Women.
That's
you
right.
were once on the left.
Yeah.
You have said to me over and over again, the left has evolved into this party. Are my adjectives accurate or over the top?
No, you're absolutely correct. What I would suggest, though, is a lot of people are saying that they've become this, and almost like this is an acute revelation of what the Democrats have become. What I would submit is that they've always been this way. The difference is that it's been dressed differently, right? This is now what you've seen with the Kavanaugh situation are all of those previously well-dressed well-sounding Democrats who've been saying effectively the same thing, all running out of their homes completely naked. We've seen them now for what they are. And that's, I think, what the American people are shocked at. The Democrats have panicked so much at what the Donald Trump election really means that now all of the hate, which is what drives them, is coming forward. And the signal that they have decided to go for broke is in not just all of the efforts, of course, to undermine due process or the presumption of innocence or the rule of law. It's the threats that they are now issuing. It is the threats against the senators. It's against Sarah Sanders. It is the remarkable behavior that they display, that they seem to not care at all about the impact that it's having on viewers. And I would suggest, Sean, it's not just the conservatives or Republicans that need to come out. I know that classical liberals are as appalled at what has transpired. Those are individuals that need to come out. And now there's a new poll that is out that says 56% of independents disapproved of the way the Democrats handled the Kavanaugh
How could they
hearing.
not? We cannot divide. We can't divide the country this way. Let me bring in Dr. Gorka. One of the things, not only do I love your title, Why We Fight Defeating America's Enemies with No Apologies, this also is on the ballot. Well, I don't see rockets being fired over Japan every other day and threatening the entire peninsula and the world with nuclear weapons. Little rocket man's at the table. The Iranians aren't getting cargo planes of cash. This election matters, and it does fit into the theme of your book.
What about ISIS, Sean? What about China? China's coming to the table. Yes, your list, I need that list you used in the monologue. How many items were on your list in just the last 20 months of the Trump administration? It's incredible. But to Tammy's point and to why I wrote Why We Fight, what we saw in the last 14 days, it's not new. In my book, I have a whole chapter on Whittaker Chambers. In 1948, the first televised congressional testimony was of a man who was Kavanaugh'd before Judge Kavanaugh or Justice Kavanaugh was even born. A man who stood up for the truth, who said, well, there are Soviet agents in the U.S. administration. They accused him of cheating on his wife, of being a homosexual, of killing or being responsible for the death of his brother. None of it was true, Sean. That was 1948. The Democrats have always been fueled by hatred and by lies. The difference is now social media. We can see these crazy people clawing at the doors of the Supreme Court.
All right, prediction, both of you. Will Republicans and conservatives come out in 29 days?
They will, and independents will as well, because they were a little depressed also. But yes, they will.
Leave here.
I thank the members of the United States Senate, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, for his leadership and steady resolve. I thank Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley for his wisdom and fairness. And I give special gratitude to Senators Rob Portman, Susan Collins, Joe Manchin, John Kyle, and Lindsey Graham. They are a credit to the country and the Senate. I'll be forever grateful to each of them and to all the senators who carefully considered my nomination.
That was the new Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, Brett Kavanaugh, thanking members of the Senate, including my next guest, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator Graham, I said this to you last week, and I'll say it again tonight. I don't think this would have happened without you. The moment where it was just organic for you was extraordinarily powerful in as much as it was righteous indignation at that moment. And the other thing I'd like to say, I don't think it would have happened. I watched the speech of Susan Collins, and I said this Friday night on this show. I think it was the best Senate speech I've ever seen. Yes. Methodically laying out the case with no influence outside from anybody, under enormous pressure. And I've heard every horrible thing said about this woman. And I'm thinking, where is their sense of decency and dignity if you lay out an intelligent case, but you just happen to disagree?
Well, it's about outcomes for our friends on the left. There's nothing they won't do to maintain power. There's nothing they won't do to take it back when they lose it. Susan Collins represented the best in the country. She thought about what she did. She explained what she did, and she made a reasoned decision. the people on the other side were going to destroy Kavanaugh if we let them. To the extent that my intervention helped a good man who was being railroaded and humiliated, I'm pleased. And to President Trump, thank you for sticking by Brett. To Brett, thank you for having the courage to stay in there when a lot of people are quit. I'm forever grateful to both Brett Kavanaugh and President Trump.
What I see now in people, a level of energy and enthusiasm and just raw, we're not going to put up with this, that I think is ignited around the country. I don't know the impact it'll have on the country in 29 days, but considering that we see every 2-4 years and every confirmation these tactics, we can't reward this behavior because we'll just get a lot more of it.
I think that's what Susan was understanding, is that if she legitimized this process, God help the next person to be nominated for the Supreme Court. If we legitimize this process, the rule of law gave way to the mob rule. The Hirano standard is horrific. What was insulting is the way that the senator from Hawaii took everything we hold near and dear.
By the way,
and threw it
Senator,
over
you shouldn't be saying that.
like
You should
Kavanaugh,
shut up and sit down,
Trump.
she said. She said men should shut up and sit down. Shut up, Senator, and sit down.
The only thing
that goes for me, too.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And you're probably right half the time. But the people of South Carolina gave me my voice, not the senator from Hawaii. And I chose to use it in a fashion that I thought, I think what a lot of people were thinking. And Senator Collins gave the best explanation why a reasonable person would vote for Judge Kavanaugh. And we're going to take this to the ballot box. 29 days from now, you got a decision to make, America. Do you want to live in the world of Senator Hirano, where you're guilty until proven innocent because you're a Republican, you don't have a presumption of innocence? Or do you want to live in the Susan Collins world, where you'll actually be heard, listened to, and evaluated?
You know, Senator, I've been in this game. I'm now starting my 23rd year at Fox tonight, and 30 years on radio. I've been pretty lucky. I've been waiting any minute for it all to come crashing down like everyone else. But I will say this:
you're good to go. You're good to go.
When you look at the progress we've made as a country, I haven't heard one idea from the other side that will improve the lives of the people that matter most. The people in South Carolina and the people in the rest of this country that are seeing the economy boom, our security get beefed up in ways we never imagined just 2 short years ago.
Well, there's 2 issues in this election. Everything else has kind of gone by the wayside. Are you okay with what they did to Kavanaugh? Is this the America you want to pass on to your children? We want women to be heard and respected. Dr. Ford was heard. She was respectfully treated. But we also want a constitutional process that protects all of us, not just Republicans, not Democrats, but all of us. And here's the other question on the ballot. What do you have to lose? Well, I tell you what, if we lose, you got a lot to lose. You're going to have a smaller military. You're going to have a bigger government. You're going to have less money in your pocket. If they win, you're going to have a bunch of people who are organized around the idea of hating Trump. So I would say there's a lot to lose if you turn over power to my Democratic colleagues. There's a lot to lose in this election, and I hope you understand that.
All right, Senator Lindsey Graham, I don't know if this would have happened without you. You did your constituency in South Carolina. You served them well. You served the country well. We are forever in your gratitude for that. Thank you, sir. All right, when we come back, a lot of breaking news on the deep state. We're going to have so much news this week. You're going to want to stay with us. I know what it is. I'm just not allowed to give away my sources. But we're going to give you a preview of coming attractions. Alan Dershowitz, Greg Jarrett, Sarah Carter, all coming up. We're glad you're with us on this busy Monday breaking news night. Stay with us. There is huge breaking news coming out this week. It is big news about the deep state. We've been right all along. And trust me, you will want to tune into the show tomorrow, Wednesday in particular. But first, Fox News is reporting, quote, lawyer for Clinton campaign and the DNC gave FBI documents for Russia probe sources say. Meanwhile, The Hill's John Solomon out with a brand new piece entitled FBI Smoking Gun, Redactions Protected Political Embarrassment, Not National Security. Here with more, the author of the book, New York Times bestseller, The Case Against Impeaching Trump, Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz, as well as author of the best-selling book, The Russia Hoax, the illicit scheme to clear Hillary Clinton and frame Donald Trump, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, and Fox News contributor Sarah Carter, investigative reporter. Sarah, we always start with you. Let's talk about the news to the extent you can. I know you know what I know.
Yes.
There will be big news tomorrow. Let's talk about that and the things that I just mentioned that we can talk about.
Yeah, so coupled with information that was received last week from lawmakers, it was that closed-door testimony, Sean, that James Baker, the former general counsel for the FBI, remember James Baker was a very close confidant of James Comey, worked very closely with former deputy director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe. He gave what they are describing as explosive testimony, and it was. Part of the information that has already come out, which you mentioned, Sean, was that Michael Sussman, who is a lawyer for Perkins Coie. Remember, this was the law firm that the DNC and the Hillary Clinton campaign actually used to basically hire Fusion GPS. So they paid Perkins Coie, it was a cutout, to hire Fusion GPS, which then hired Christopher Steele to write the unverified dossier. Well, what they discovered was that Michael Sussman, according to James Baker, also met with James Baker, and he delivered information to him both on a hard drive and in hard copy about Russia hacking. He was also apparently delivered to him a version of the dossier. I think what was most explosive about this information that they got was the fact that Sussman himself, who was working with Perkins Coie, was actually passing information like a back channel, very similar to Bruce Orr, to James Baker, who then delivered it to the counterintelligence division. And part of the information that the DOJ and the FBI was actually trying to keep from the American people. They didn't want this information coming out because
and a lot of
it would show
withheld. Not to embarrass themselves, what they would claim in the name of national security. And
absolutely.
Also, and wasn't there an attempt here, will there be evidence that shows some members of the upper echelon, not rank and file, were involved in literally trying, where they wanted retribution for the firing of Comey, and it will be proved?
That's right. They wanted retribution for the firing of Comey, and I think the American people will be stunned tomorrow when the information comes out regarding members of the DOJ, a very high-level official within the DOJ.
Let me go to my friend Alan Dershowitz. Professor, I know you as a person. I know that politics isn't, it's not beanball. It's a blood sport. I accept it for what it is. You're in the public arena. All of us are in the public arena. We're all going to get hit. We're all going to get lied about. I know you've been lied about. I know I've been lied about. But what they did to Judge Kavanaugh, the Democratic Party systematically ignoring presumption of innocence, due process. I believe her, but you haven't even heard from the other side from the get-go. You're not that person, but that is your party. Reaction.
Well, I'm trying to change that party. I'm trying to make it into what it used to be when I was the national board member of the American Civil Liberties Union, and we believed in a presumption of innocence. When I was a Harvard professor, and we wouldn't deny a professor the right to teach based on these kinds of allegations. I have a piece coming out in tomorrow's Boston Globe railing against the Harvard students who have employed McCarthyism to dissuade Justice Kavanaugh from teaching them, even though other students want to be taught by them. I'm going to continue to fight within the Democratic Party to make sure that they return to their original roots as a liberal, not a radical left-wing party, a party of civil libertarians. In the meantime, I want to congratulate Justice Kavanaugh. I await his decisions. I'm sure I'll disagree with some. I'll agree with some, but that's the nature of the American constitutional system. And I'm deeply disappointed with the way the Democrats handled this, much as I was deeply disappointed by the way the Republicans handled the Merrick Garland case. I think the American public suffers when we make these issues partisan instead of trying to pick the best possible justices who are going to serve for the next 20 or 30 years.
Greg Jarrett.
Well, I want to go back to the deep state topic, because James Baker has now implicated a great many people at the FBI and the Department of Justice in the illicit scheme to frame Donald Trump. He has essentially confessed that these people at the DOJ and the FBI handled the Trump-Russia investigation in an abnormal fashion and driven by political bias. He's also
Will
lifted
we have the
veil
evidence of this
secrecy. He's
tomorrow?
also lifted the veil of secrecy that it wasn't just a British spy on the Clinton payroll providing phony Russian evidence to the FBI, but also a lawyer. And I think in the days ahead, as Sarah Carter indicated, there is going to be much more information of an explosive nature about the effort to frame Trump.
I'm going to give each of you 15 seconds. Simple questions. Will the issues involving the abuse of power and the horrific treatment of Judge Kavanaugh, eliminating due process, presumption of innocence, impact the election in 29 days? Quick answer, Sarah first.
Oh, absolutely. I think both independents and Republicans, as well as I think maybe some Democrats, are going to get out there and vote. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this in history. I think this has really unified the base, and I think people will get out there and vote.
Professor.
If the Democrats persist in this foolishness of investigating Kavanaugh and moving for his impeachment, the kind of vengeance, get-even investigation, Americans will not approve of that, and it will be another example of the Democrats shooting themselves in the foot.
Greg Jarrett, last word.
Polling data indicates already that the tactics that are so shameful have backfired on Democrats, the special interest groups, and all those protesters. Republicans are highly motivated and galvanized to get out the vote.
People should not be rewarded for this. And you know what? The last 2 years has been a dramatic improvement. The economy and security for this country. That should be on the ballot. All right, as we continue, breaking news night, an exclusive interview with Laura Trump. She'll be right here in studio. The crucial midterm elections, the vile attacks against Senator Susan Collins and Brett Kavanaugh and his family as we continue. Stay with us. All right, since her decisive vote to confirm Justice Kavanaugh, Senator Susan Collins of Maine has been facing fierce backlash, quote, from feminists and for not towing the political line. Some of this has been beyond mean and despicable. Take a look.
Many of your opponents are going to say she's pro-choice, she is pro-women's rights, and she just sent a man accused of sexual assault to the Supreme Court of the United States.
That's political cowardice. That is somebody who is pretending to be a feminist, but that is fake feminism.
I think a lot of women in this country are going to focus very much on Susan Collins. Here was a chance for one of the most powerful women in the country. She set herself up to be the single most powerful senator in this country by saying, I'll tell you at 3 o'clock. And she came out and stood up there as a woman and says, I believe the guy.
Well, it's got worse than that. Joining us now with reaction, senior advisor to the Donald Trump for President campaign and the president's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, is with us. Laura, good to see you. Thank you for being with us. It seems that there's this huge double standard. You've been attacked. Ivanka's been attacked. Melania has been attacked. Even the president's son, who's 12, has been attacked. Then you have Sarah Sanders, Secretary Nielsen, Pam Bondi, people getting assaulted in restaurants, people getting in their face. And then what they're saying about Susan Collins, I don't understand how you can say you're a champion of women's rights and allow this to happen regularly.
Yeah, it makes no sense, Sean. Actually, if you want to see a real woman, if you want to see what real feminism is about, take a look at Senator Susan Collins. Here's a woman who went against the mob coming after her, everyone telling her she shouldn't do this, from the left, from the media, from Hollywood. She went with her gut and her heart, and she made a decision on her own, despite what all these people were telling her she should do. That is what a real woman is about to me. I commend her. Kudos to her. She finally did the right thing here. And yes, she set herself up as the most powerful senator by making everybody wait until 3 o'clock. This is a very smart woman, and this is the definition of feminism, in my opinion.
The amount of fear-mongering, though, I mean, I won't get into all the details, but there have been calls. I hope the most horrific violent act against a woman happens to you, and thousands of coat hangers sent, threats to her office, threats to her. I mean, I'm watching this and I'm thinking there is a great hypocrisy, because the very same people that were going after Brett Kavanaugh were silent about Bill Clinton, silent about Keith Ellison. What do you say about the double standard?
Oh, there's a complete double standard. And you know what? People are paying attention to it. And I want to tell the American people out there, if you think this is as ridiculous as the rest of us do, you have the choice in November to vote in the midterm elections, and you better make sure you are voting for Trump-supporting Republicans, because we see how ridiculous the Democrats can be. They know no lows. This they go low, we go high nonsense. I don't know where they tossed that out the window, if they ever actually believed that. We have an opportunity in November to keep the majority in the House and Senate, and it is the most important thing that everyone could do that voted for Donald Trump, because if you're happy with the direction this country has gone under Donald Trump's leadership, you got to get out and vote in the midterms. Otherwise, these people are going to take control of things, and we do not want to see that.
Laura, we know their agenda. They're saying it. They want the tax cuts that have put thousands of dollars in families' pockets. They want the crumbs back. They called them crumbs at the time. They want to eliminate ICE. They want open borders. They want to keep Obamacare, and they want to impeach your father-in-law.
Yeah, and they're advocating for socialism. That's their new platform, running on socialism. It is a very scary thing, and you're completely right, Sean. Everyone out there should understand that if the Democrats get control of the House and Senate, they will try and impeach this president. They will probably try to get rid of Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. They will put a complete halt to everything good we've seen happen in this country in the year and a half that Donald Trump has been president, and everybody should take that very, very seriously.
You know, people tend to stay home in midterm elections.
Well, they better not this year.
They better not. 29 days from now. Okay, Laura Trump, good to see you. Thank you, as always, for being with us. I saw a picture of your baby, the cutest kid on earth. Next time we'll show a picture to everybody. Thanks for being with us. When we come back, the president praising law enforcement, calling out the media for not standing up for them more often. And by the way, he's right. We'll show you next. All right, today, President Trump, he met with members of law enforcement in Florida, where he reminded them that although the media doesn't always recognize the good work police do and rush to judgment in like Ferguson and Baltimore, well, we, the people, the American people, appreciate it. Watch this.
I don't think you understand one thing, how much our country loves you and the job you do. You don't hear it from them. You don't hear it from them. They don't tell you the real feeling. They don't tell you the true feeling, but I know the true feeling. I know the true feeling. You don't hear it from the media, but I can tell you, I know the feeling. And these people, the people of our country, love you. So I just want you to